it's kind of hard to explain what being open is, really. Sometimes for me, it's just repeating in my head, like, I'm open to feeling something different. I'm willing to feel something different, without committing to what the different is, or without committing to or focusing on trying to feel better. It's just saying, no, I'm open. And maybe the first day you're like, well, I'm open to being open. And maybe you're there the second day or the third day too. But there's going to come a day that you're like, you know what? I'm actually willing to feel better today. And then maybe the next day it's like, okay, let's start. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Like, what's the next thing to do to feel better? Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you. The Quiet Ones podcast is presented by Nanocraft CBD. Nanocraft was built on a simple mission: create exceptional CBD products that contribute to overall health. CBD is a natural, organic, and holistic option for a wide range of health concerns, including better sleep, reduced anxiety, and improved overall health. Recent studies have shown that CBD can alleviate feelings of anxiety and elevate your mood thanks to its ability to increase levels of the neurotransmitter of serotonin. Low levels of serotonin have been linked to depression. Traditional medications that are prescribed to patients with depression are designed to elevate levels of serotonin in order to give your mood a boost. And CBD oil has the same effect without the side effects of prescription antidepressants. I was diagnosed with major depression in 2014. I spent more than a year trying to find an antidepressant prescription medication that would work for me, with no success. I couldn't find one that I could tolerate because of the side effects. Along with depression, I have a general anxiety disorder, which leaves me feeling stressed, anxious, nervous, and scared a lot of the times. So a friend of mine suggested that I try CBD oil instead of prescription medication. I was a bit hesitant because I wasn't sure if it was drugs or not, or if it was even legal in the United States. So I did some research and found that CBD is derived from hemp or a marijuana plant, but it doesn't contain THC, which is the compound that gets a user high. So basically, it's really not drugs. I was also surprised to find that CBD is legal in almost all of the United States. So I got a bottle of the broad spectrum CBD oil from Nanocraft, and I took it every single day. I noticed results within 2 days. My anxiety was substantially lower. My mood shifted out of feeling numb and depressed to feeling more hopeful and happy. If you have depression, anxiety, or are just feeling down, because let's be honest, who hasn't felt off with everything that's going on in the past couple of years? You need to give Nanocraft CBD a try. Get 10% off your order when you order through the link at infjwoman.com/CBD. That's infjwoman.com/CBD. There's a link in the show notes. Hi there, I'm Sarah Kuhn. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. So this past week, it has been really interesting. I live close to Boston, Massachusetts, and we had a couple of storms. They're called nor'easters. They're kind of like, almost like tropical storms, actually. And I think they're called nor'easter just because of where they come from and the area that they're in. But they're like really wicked, powerful storms. And I don't live like right on the coast, but pretty close to the coast. So there's lots of wind, and there really isn't anything to interrupt the wind because it comes right off of the ocean, which I think is part of how they get to be so powerful. But the wind is just like crazy, and it rained for 3 days straight. I don't think I saw the sun for like 5 days straight. And it just felt like a lot. The other part of living in Boston, mostly I love living close to Boston, but one of the few things that I just absolutely hate is that this time of the year, the sun starts to go down like super early. And by the time we get into December, the sun will be setting at 4:30 at night. So it'll be dark at 4:30 at night. And then the sun doesn't come up until almost 8 o'clock in the morning. So you have this very short period of time where there's actually daylight outside, which feels really, really weird. And there's a lot of people who suffer from seasonal depression. And with me already having depression, that's one of the things that can trigger going into depression again. So it's a little bit better now that I work from home because it used to be that I would just go into work when it was dark outside, and then by the time I was done, it was already dark outside. But now that I work from home, at least I get to see the sun in the wintertime, which is nice. But it's still, there's a process of adapting to it. There are different things that you can do, like there are these lights that you can get that mimic sunlight that help a little bit. But it's also just kind of a process of realizing what's going on and adapting and resting and recharging and giving yourself space to feel what you feel and to be okay with not always feeling great and, feeling really good. That's kind of what we're talking about on the podcast today, how to deal with INFJ burnout and how to keep going when you really don't feel that good. But before we get going, I want to tell you about 2 things that I have going on that I think that you need to be a part of. So the first one is this Tuesday, I am doing a workshop called How to Find the Perfect Career for You as an INFJ. If you are still looking for the right career, if you're unhappy with your job, if you want to change careers, if you don't know where to start, you just know that you want to do something, this is the workshop for you. It's a 1-hour workshop that's going to be live on Zoom on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't make it live, that's totally fine. You'll be able to watch the replay afterwards. And I'll be available after the workshop for any questions that you might have about your career or your purpose, or if you just have any questions about being an INFJ. You should definitely check it out. You can find all of the information at infjwoman.com/perfectcareer. And you can find the link for that in the show notes. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about is called my happiness project. This year, well, it really started in 2020, honestly. It's been a tough couple of years, and we're getting into 2 years of it being this weird, not usual type of thing that's going on. And I've just realized that I'm not really happy. I haven't been happy for a long time. One of my friends asked me a while ago what I do every single day that makes me happy. And I was so embarrassed to say, I have no idea. I don't really know. I don't do a lot of things that make me happy. I read the book, The Happiness Project, a few years ago when it first came out. And I thought back then that I wanted to do a happiness project, but of course life got in the way. So this year I took some specific time, dedicated time to figure out what makes me happy. And I wanted to share that with you. So this is my happiness project that I want to share with you because I want you to have happiness in your life too. I mean, that's the ultimate goal for all of us, right? More happiness. So if you sign up for my happiness project, what it is 30 days of blog posts that are about happiness. If you sign up for it, which is totally free, so there's no reason not to sign up for it, but you'll get access to a new blog post every single day for 30 days that will help you find simple things that will bring happiness into your life. And a lot of them are really simple things that you could do every single day that maybe you just don't think about or have kind of gotten put on the back burner because, life gets in the way. But the goal for all of us is to be happier, right? And this will definitely bring you happiness into your life. Also, there are some bonus videos, worksheets, and guides that are included as well. So make sure that you go sign up. Go to infjwoman.com/happiestlife30. And you can find the link for that in the show notes as well. All right, let's get to today's episode. Okay, so today we're going to talk about INFJ burnout and how to keep going when you don't know how. I've been through quite a few burnouts, and they're kind of fresh in my mind. Last year, I was sick for most of the year. I'm 100% positive that I had COVID in January, February of last year, but that was before they had all the tests and everything. So the doctors that I went to were like, I don't know what you have. It's some kind of respiratory infection. You'll be fine. And then I wasn't fine, and then they didn't know. And so being in that whole limbo, I think I saw 7 or 8 different doctors. Pretty much thought I was going to die for most of the year. There's something that's really frustrating when you have a cough that's normally when you have a cough, you probably just rest for a few days and you think, okay, it's going to go away. Sometimes I get a cough because of allergies, and so I'm like, okay, I need some Zyrtec, I need some Claritin, some kind of allergy medication, and it'll go away in a couple days. Sometimes it's something bigger that's an infection or something, so you go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, you have a respiratory infection, here you go, you'll be better in a week. I did all of those things and it didn't get better. And so then my mom, who's a nurse, is sending me all kinds of other things that try this type of cough syrup, try this type of cough drop, and nothing helped. And just the frustration of coughing to the point of losing your voice every single day, being tired from coughing all day long, and then not being able to catch your breath is just exhausting. And it just takes everything out of you because you're just focused on breathing all day long. So for me, all of 2020 was basically this literally struggling to keep breathing and then not having the energy to do anything else, and then being super frustrated because you're going to doctors and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You look fine to me. And it's cool, but why can't I breathe? So dealing with all of that, it caused me to be not be able to deal with anything else. It was I can't think about anything else. I don't want to talk about anything else. I just want to keep holding on until I can find some type of solution. And thankfully, unfortunately, and thankfully, it took almost a whole year to find the solution. But I was able to figure out the solution. And what happened was I had this really bad virus, and it made my asthma go from barely noticeable to severe and uncontrolled, which was the cough that I had that just wouldn't go away. So once I went to see the right type of doctor, he was like, I don't know how you didn't die. I'm like, I don't really know either, but tell me you could fix it. And he's like, yeah, you take this medication and this medication and you'll stop coughing. And 3 days later, I quit coughing. So just, there are certain situations like that where it's this is a lot to deal with, and you just don't have the space or the capacity to deal with anything else. Plus, you pile on top of that everything else that 2020 brought to us. There are a lot of people, even now, that are still recovering from that, still dealing with the burnout, the fear, the uncertainty, and trying to even remember what it was like to feel normal. All right, I love this talk, but let's take a short break for a minute. I got a direct message the other day, one that was very familiar to me because I get it from a lot of people. But this particular one says, I love your content and I wish that there was more of it. I'm so inspired by you and I love how relatable you are. How do I get more? This is from Susan, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, Susan, I have some good news for you. I'm starting an insiders group for you and for anyone listening who wants more content. It's called the INFJ Woman Insiders. With this group, you'll learn more about your INFJ personality and step into your highest and best self. You'll get at least 2 videos every single week from me, full of inspiration, guidance, and support. You'll also get 2 live videos a month where I show up to answer your questions and give you support and coaching. I'm also including exclusive access to behind the scenes of what's going on in my business and my life each and every week. If you want me there with you like a cheerleader and a coach, you'll want to become an insider. The INFJ Woman Insiders group is only $9.99 per month and it's month to month, so you can cancel anytime. I'm here to support you in rising to your highest and best self. Are you ready? Let's go! Go to infjwoman.com/insider to sign up today. And if you sign up by the end of this week, I'm going to include access to my workshop called How to Go From Overthinking to Doing, absolutely free. Go to infjwoman.com/insider to sign up now. I took about 6 months off of my blog and my podcast because I just couldn't deal with it. There was just so much that's like, okay, I have to stop doing all of the things just so that I can keep surviving. But once my health improved and I started to feel better, then it was like, okay, now I can add back in some of those things because I have the capacity to do that now. Something that was a lot less severe, just about a month ago, I hit a burnout phase that was different for me than what I usually go through. Usually with burnout, it's just like feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and tired, like I need to rest. But about a month ago when I hit that phase, I felt like that too, but I also felt incredibly angry. And that was something new for me because I don't usually feel angry. But thankfully, this one, I was able to contain it to more like a week rather than, the 6 months that I had felt before. And I think part of that obviously is I wasn't as sick as I was before. But part of it is that I've been doing so much work around self-love and learning how to feel through your feelings, healing my inner child, all of these types of things that are so important. It gave me the tools to say, okay, I recognize what's going on here and I'm going to sit with it for a while and then I'm going to move on. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how you get through that, how you deal with feeling burnt out and keep going when you really don't feel like doing anything. The first step when you notice that you're feeling burnt out is to feel what you're feeling. A lot of times we skip this step, right? Because when you're dealing with burnout, you just want to feel better or you don't want to feel anything. Usually my first response is like, okay, I'm just going to lay on the couch until I feel better. And that doesn't always work. And then, the other response is, I just want to feel better. What do I have to do? I want to feel better like right now. Can I feel better right now? What's the thing to do to feel better right now? But the fastest way to get to feeling better is to feel through the emotions that you're feeling. So this last time I was feeling angry, and I don't like being angry. I don't like being mean and irritated all the time. So it was difficult to sit with that for a few days and think about why I was feeling that way and try to sort out all of the emotions. I'm really good at pushing those emotions away, right? We as INFJs, we don't like to feel our own emotions. We want to focus on everybody else's emotions. We're really good at that. That comes naturally to us. And we're better at looking at their emotions and going, hey, this is what you need to do. I understand what you're feeling. I get it. I see it. Here's how you can get better, right? But when it comes to us, it's like lost and confused, overwhelmed. I don't really know what to do. So just being able to sit with your feelings, being able to identify your feelings, try to name them, is the first step. And I think I was probably there for about 5 to 7 days, just trying to feel through what was going on. The second step is to be open to feeling better. Sometimes when you're in burnout, you don't want to feel better. You just want to be alone. You just want to feel bad. And that's okay to feel bad for a while, but eventually you're going to have to do something different, right? So maybe you don't want to feel better right now. Maybe you're thinking about feeling better, but you're not there yet. So in that place, you need to be open to the idea of feeling better. You don't have to start feeling better right now. Just be open to the idea. Just start thinking about it. And if that's too much, then be open to being open. And for me, this is really just, it's kind of hard to explain what being open is, really. Sometimes for me, it's just repeating in my head, like I'm open to feeling something different. I'm willing to feel something different, without committing to what the different is, or without committing to or focusing on trying to feel better. It's just saying, no, I'm open. And maybe the first day you're like, well, I'm open to being open. And maybe you're there the second day or the third day too. But there's going to come a day that you're like, you know what? I'm actually willing to feel better today. And then maybe the next day it's like, okay, let's start. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Like, what's the next thing to do to feel better? So then step 3, once you get to step 3, and each one of these steps, it's kind of like it takes as long as it takes. A lot of people want to know, like, how long should you stay there? What's the time frame? Can I have like one day in step 1, 1 day in step 2, 1 day in step 3? It doesn't always work that way. It's different for everybody, and it's different depending on what level of burnout you're at. It's different because of why you got there. So unfortunately, the answer is it takes as long as it takes. And you'll know when you get there, when you're ready to move on to the next step. Step 3 is do one little thing. Not a big thing, not an overwhelming thing, not a hard thing. One little easy thing. So for me, I had been feeling bad probably close to 2 weeks. The first week was just like really angry and overwhelmed and stressed out. And the second week I was just focused on being open to feeling something different. And so by the time the weekend rolled around, I was like, okay, I really need to clean up my apartment because it's kind of getting messy. But one of the problems that I have in my apartment is I have too much stuff and not enough space, not enough storage. So I was like, okay, there's an IKEA here, and you have to get on the highway to go there. And I don't really like driving on the highway. I mean, I will, but there's a lot of traffic and stuff. So if I can avoid it, then I will. But I was like, all right, I can go to IKEA and get a new bookshelf, and that'll be my one little thing that I do, which is probably too much of a big thing, because going to IKEA in itself, and on a Sunday, because there's tons of people in there, but I got up early because I'm like, I'm going to avoid the crowd and try to avoid the crowd and already know what I want. But when I got there, I love going into IKEA because they have their store laid out in all of these little rooms that you can look through, which is their brilliant sales tactic because it makes you buy more stuff than what you really intended to go in there for. But once I got there, it was like, maybe I'll walk through the showroom and maybe I'll find some new ideas for some stuff that I might want or need. So I ended up spending probably more than an hour there, and then I found the bookshelf that I wanted. And by the time I got it home, I was feeling a lot better just because I had done something different. I had been outside. I, had seen some new things that are outside of my routine. And then just having the accomplishment of putting the bookshelf together was a huge thing too. And then I bought some other stuff too. I bought some new plates and bowls and some storage containers. So I was able to organize my kitchen, and what felt like an overwhelming project before that felt like something fun and easy to do once I had what I needed, right? So that little bit of doing something different and accomplishing something kind of pushed me into feeling something different. That was like the push that I needed to say, okay, it's okay to feel better. And it's totally doable to feel better. It doesn't feel so impossible like what it did before. So that brings us to step 4, which is push yourself. This is like the most difficult step. It's the easiest and the most difficult because it's like you finally want to feel better, but you're still kind of stuck in the mode of, hey, it's nice to be on the couch doing nothing. It's nice to let go of all of the responsibilities that you have, all the stress that you have, and just be doing nothing. But at this point, it's really necessary to kind of push yourself out of that. Depending on how long you've been there, it's become part of your habit. It's your routine now. So it's necessary to push yourself out of that and say, no, it's time to get back to normal living. It's time to get back to what you usually do. It's time to get back to eating better and doing your supplements and exercising and all of the things that do make you feel better. But when you're stressed and overwhelmed, those are the things that are like the first to go, right? Because those are the most difficult things. So pushing yourself can be a little bit different. It can be a little bit difficult, but it's super, super important. And then we have step 5, which is look for inspiration. Of course, the goal of walking through these steps is to reduce the amount of time that you spend in burnout, to reduce the amount of times that you get to burnout, but then also to reduce the amount of time that you spend in each one of your burnout phases. So when you look for inspiration, I look for people who I look up to, for people who I want to be more like, and for people who make me feel good when I listen to their podcast or their videos. The few people that I have, you've probably heard me talk about them 100 times. I love Evan Carmichael because he is an INFJ just like we are. And his whole purpose in life is to help people believe in themselves. And he helps entrepreneurs too, but a lot of his content is just focused on helping people believe in themselves. And we could all use more of that in our lives. Some other people, I love Gabby Bernstein. She has a podcast called Dear Gabby, and she talks a lot about being open to change and looking to a higher power for help in your life. I love Kathy Heller as well. She has a podcast called Don't Keep Your Day Job. She's also focused on helping entrepreneurs, but she talks a lot about the emotional and spiritual side of life too. Some other people, Abraham Hicks, Gay Hendricks, Ruth Soukup, and Amy Porterfield are all amazing people for inspiration. But this is the step where you get to say, okay, who inspires me? What can I do to feel inspired every single day? So maybe that's watching videos. Maybe it's listening to podcast episodes. Maybe there's a book that you like to read. Whatever it is, as long as it's something that you're doing on a routine basis, so that you're constantly inspired. The reason that I have quite a few people is I don't listen to all of their content every single day. I have different people for different moods that I'm in. So when I'm feeling really good and really inspired and really peppy, then I'll listen to Kathy Heller because that's like her personality, right? But when I'm feeling more down and more of like I need a pick-me-up, then I'll listen to Gabby Bernstein. And when I'm feeling kind of like in the middle, then I listen to Evan because it's like I need that belief in myself to push me to get going. The other thing that I kind of skipped over for step 4 is to have a routine. A routine helps a lot, especially in the morning. Your routine sets your intention for what your day is. I'm working on, I guess I should say, in the morning when I first get up, to make sure that some of my first thoughts for the day are, I am safe, and everything that I desire comes to me with ease. What we think has such a big effect on our lives, right? And especially when you have anxiety and your mind is trained to basically attack you most of the time, you have these feelings of, I'm not safe. And sometimes the feeling is I'm going to die. And it's like, I don't know why I feel that way. It's just that I woke up today and that's what I feel. And it makes no sense. There's no reason why I should feel that way, except that my brain is just telling me that this is how you feel. And so it's difficult when you have no tools to be able to get out of those things, right? Well, one of the things that I've learned through meditation is the things that you repeat to yourself all the time, the things that you think constantly. Dr. Joe Dispenza says the thoughts that wire together, fire together, or something like that, which means that basically what you think all of the time is what your brain is going to believe. It's going to become the habit that you feel over and over and over again. So if your habit is feeling I'm not safe, I'm not okay, then you're going to feel I'm not safe and I'm not okay all the time. But if you train your mind to say I'm safe, then your mind is going to start believing that. The pathways in your brain are going to change so that will be something that feels normal to you rather than feels weird, right? That's one of the things that meditation helps you do, is retrain your brain to think about the things that you want it to think about. So what I do, part of my routine, is to spend 5 to 10 minutes in meditation every morning so that I can help train my brain to say the things that I want it to. And some of the meditations that I do are like listing gratitudes, which is another good thing. To think about the things that you are thankful for rather than the things that you don't have, which is something that we think about a lot, right? What's the next thing? What do I want? What do I need? Rather than what do I actually have that I'm already thankful for? Another one that I do, that I listen to, I got them from Gabby Bernstein. So if you're interested, that's where they came from. Another one is like morning mantras, which is just like affirmations, positive affirmations. And how I got the I am safe thing, that's one of the things that she says. And when I heard it, I was kind of like, well, that's an odd thing to say. And then the more that I thought about it, the more it was like, no, that's really awesome. Like, why did I never say that before? That's never been something that's run through my mind. Like, I am safe. It's always the opposite of that. It's always my mind is looking for the ways that I'm not safe. So I realized that just telling yourself in the morning that you're safe, it makes such a huge difference. And then the other thing, everything that I desire comes to me with ease. It's really, really easy for us to focus on negative things, right? It's easy for us to say, this is really difficult. And it doesn't matter what it is. Whether you're trying to start a new hobby, you want to change your habits, maybe you want to change the way that you eat. We all have these stories that we tell ourselves. And a lot of times it's like, I can't, or this is really difficult. One of the things that I learned from my parents, it's really difficult to lose weight. It's impossible. It's really hard. It doesn't happen for me. So when you tell yourself that over and over again, then that's what your mind believes. And then anytime that you want to do that, the constant automatic thought that you have is, I can't lose weight. It's really hard to lose weight. I can't lose weight. There's no point in doing it, and it's just like this stream of negativity. But when you can stop the negativity and turn it around, all of those things that you think are difficult can become easy. And really all it takes is just changing the way that you think about something. We all know that something is hard until you learn how to do it, right? You think about when you started driving. Driving was really hard for me. I never wanted to drive. I was like, don't need to do that. I'm scared of cars. I don't want to be in control of one. It was really difficult. And then, like my parents had to push me to drive. We lived 45 minutes outside of town in the middle of nowhere. So the public transportation wasn't an option. We didn't have a subway or an L or anything like that. So it was like, you have to drive. And right after I started driving by myself consistently, I got into a major accident. And that was really my fault. And the first thing that my parents did was like, you got to get back in the car and start driving. I'm like, no, I didn't ever want to do that again. They're like, no, you have to get back in the car. You have to get back up on the horse, keep going, keep trying again. So what happens is your brain, you train your brain to think about things the way that you constantly think about them, right? So I thought that driving was hard, so I didn't want to drive. And it was hard until I learned how to do it, until I had practice. They say that you're not good at something until you have like 10,000 hours of experience doing it, right? So now after I've been driving for 20 years now, I've been driving for 20 years. Wow. It's a lot easier. There are still some things that I don't like to do. Like I said earlier, I don't like to drive on the highway. I've gotten a lot better at driving on the highway since I've been in Boston. It's a whole new thing. It's like fighting for your life. But it's not something that I prefer to do, but it's not difficult anymore. It's easier because I know how to do it, right? So a lot of the things that you think are difficult, they're only difficult because you think that they are, because you've had this story in your head ever since you can remember that it's difficult, and so you don't do it because you think that you can't do it. Whereas if you turn that thought around, if you trick your brain into saying, this really isn't difficult, it's actually really easy, then things start to become easier. And not only that, but your energy changes. And so instead of being scared and afraid and, concerned because you think something is terrible, if you turn the thought around in your head and you're like, you know what, this is actually easy. This is a good thing. It's not difficult to lose weight. It's actually really easy, and I know how to do it, and all I have to do is do those things. then your energy changes because you're thinking about it differently. You're not scared and overwhelmed. You are in control and you're happy and excited and ready to go. So things come to you a lot easier when you have a more positive attitude about them. So that's one of the reasons why it's important to have a routine and to start your day with making sure that your mind is in the right place. So it's important when you're in step 4 to think about what your routine is and to get back to whatever your routine is, to do things that benefit you and that will help you. So my routine in the morning, I usually wake up around 7 o'clock in the morning and I spend about 30 minutes getting ready. And then I go get coffee from my favorite place because that's one of the things that brings me joy. And it's also kind of like how I wake up. And then when I get home, I spend about 10 to 15 minutes meditating. And then I usually look for some type of inspiration. I don't like to, well, I work from home, first of all, and so it's really quiet at my house. And I don't like for things to be quiet all day long. So I usually either turn on some music or I turn on a podcast or some YouTube videos that I can listen to. I like to have that inspiration, and especially when I'm maybe not in the best of moods, that'll get me set in the right direction, and help me change my mood. So yeah, that was step 4, which was push yourself. And then we already talked about step 5, which was look for inspiration. If you are struggling with burnout right now, or you just want to prepare for the next time that you're struggling with it, I have a free guide that outlines all the steps that we talked about, which is the best way, the fastest way to get out of burnout. And you can find it at infjwoman.com/burnout. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad that you enjoy this podcast and support the work that I do. It means so much to me. I wanted to let you know that I have 3 spots open this week for a free one-on-one consultation to answer any questions that you might have about being an INFJ or anything that you're struggling with, whether it's your purpose, your career, just learning about your personality. Maybe you're struggling with burnout and how to find happiness in your life. I'm open to chatting about anything that you're interested in. So if you are interested in grabbing one of these spots, please send me a direct message on Instagram, which is at INFJWoman, and I would love to talk to you. Thank you again for listening. Make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and I will see you again soon. So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.